Welcome to Code Freedom. I'm your host, Eddie Bales. Have you ever felt stuck? Have you ever felt like there's got to be more than life than the reality that you see every day? Tune in weekly, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays as we crack the codes to freedom in every area of your life. Welcome to Code Freedom. I'm your host, Eddie Bales, and this is episode 90. And today, what I'm going to do is something a little different. You guys hear me talk a lot about personal development, working on yourself, and things of that nature. And I thought today, what would be a cool thing to do is share 20 of some of my favorite books. Now, it was hard to narrow them down to 20, but I was able to get 20 that are like some of my absolute favorites. Like I didn't even have to really think much to write this list down because they're some of the best books that I've ever read. And I literally can tell you a little bit of something about every one of those books and how it's even impacted me. And so I'm not going to go into detail on all the books, but I do want to just share some of them in case you want to read them because knowledge is power. I think it was Frederick Douglass that said, if you want to hide something from people, put it in a book. And that is so true. It was Jim Rohn who said that, you know, uh, if unsuccessful people have a big TV and a small library, but successful people have a big library and a small TV. And so, let me go ahead and jump right into these books. Uh, and by the way, I've read all of these, right? I've read all of these, some of them several times, and I will continue to because they continue to enhance me and grow me. And that's what it's all about. It's all about growth. Either you're growing or you're dying. There is no in between. So let's jump right in. And this is not in any specific order, but except the first one. The first one, of course, is the Bible, right? The number one seller of all times, and rightfully so, because I didn't know this until years later, but I didn't know that. I don't know if someone just made it up or what, but they said Bible stands for basic instructions before leaving Earth, right? And so, wouldn't you want to know instructions before leaving Earth? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. The point is, the Bible is absolutely the number one book. As a matter of fact, it's the only book that I read every single day, right? So that's important. The second one is How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? By Dale Carnegie. Because see, for me, I have not always been the greatest people person, right? But if you're an entrepreneur, if you're trying to move and advance in life, you got to get along with people. I mean, okay, let me backtrack. I've never not gotten along with people. It's just when it comes to networking and like holding long conversations with people and with strangers, I should say, and things like that. That was a key book for me in terms of breaking out of my shell, getting to know a lot of people who I don't know, right? The third book is Think and Grow Rich. And this one is important because, you know, you gotta think that you gotta think it before you ever get it. Does that make sense? Like it's gotta start in the mind. And we got so much thinking from our childhood, our past, where we grew up, what our parents taught us, different things like that. So we got to get our mind right. And Napoleon Hill, listen, this gentleman studied the richest people in the world for 20 years. Wouldn't you want to know what he found out? I sure would. Well, guess what? He wrote it in the book, Think and Grow Rich. How about this? Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a big one by Robert Kiyosaki because I learned that matter of fact, I have an episode called "Get Money by Income." I think I have an episode called that, and that's kind of the whole thing that I learned in Rich Dad Poor Dad is that you got to buy assets that are going to produce cash flow instead of just like we all got bills, but it's one thing to just get the money and then spend it on bills and then just continue to be in the cycle versus get the money, buy assets, let the assets pay the bills, if that makes sense. So um, anyway, that is a powerful book. I still remember where I was sitting, what I felt like. I just remember so much about that book because it was so eye-opening. I couldn't put it down. It was like, oh my God, my life is about to change because of this book, and rightfully so, it has. The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, really, really good book. Teaches you how to 10X everything, right? Like if you really want success, you got to 10X everything. In fact, one of the reasons why I do 3 episodes a week, actually Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturday. One of the reasons why I do that is because of Grant Cardone, the 10X rule. See, I understand that success needs volume, right? And so you got to 10X things. You can't just go small. Don't get me wrong, this is not a knock on anybody who has a podcast that is once a week or anything like that, but I just made the conscious decision and choice that I just wanted to give more and do more, right? So that's what the 10X rule taught me. Also, sell or be sold by Grant Cardone. I mean, it's true. If you're not selling, you're being sold, right? So why not be the one selling? Why not be the one in the position of strength? Also, be obsessed or be average by Grant Cardone. Just about anything from Grant Cardone. There's a few authors you want to get everything they have, right? Robert Kiyosaki, Grant Cardone, John Maxwell, which we'll come to next, and a host of others. But definitely be obsessed or be average. They taught us that being obsessed is a bad thing. No, it is not. Right? Being obsessed, it's okay to be obsessed about something good, because if you're not obsessed about something good, guess what? You're probably obsessed about something you have no business being obsessed about, right? So why not turn that obsession into something that's going to help you to succeed in life and live a life of freedom, like Code Freedom, right? uh 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell, classic. Matter of fact, I'm reading this book with my some of my leaders. I have a mastermind group of leaders that I spend time with on a weekly basis, and that's the book that we go through on a regular basis. So I love that book. It teaches you like all these different leadership principles, like the law of the lid, right? Are you the lid for your organization? Or the law of magnetism, right? The law of how to attract people to you. There's so many different laws that I just have in my head because of that book, right? When it comes to leadership, because leadership is everything, right? That's what it teaches. Leadership is influence, right? The 21 indispensable qualities of leadership. Another powerful book by John C. Maxwell. Certain qualities that you want to have when it comes to being a leader. The 5 levels of leadership. Hey, we said it. Leadership is everything. There's levels to this, right? Well, he talks about like some people, because they have a position, they think they're a strong leader. No, not at all. They just follow you because they have to, but they don't really want to, right? But it's a special skill where you can get people to follow you because they want to. That's the level of permission, right? And then we go to all the other levels as well, like people development and production and performance. I'm sorry, pinnacle, right? And so, The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz, another powerful book because listen, we're not thinking big enough. We got to think bigger. And the only way you can think bigger is by thinking bigger. But this is a really, really powerful book. I read it several times. Also, The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Powerful, powerful book. So many principles packed in this thick book. You got to get your hands on that book, right? It's just a great book. Limitless by Jim Quick shows you how to read faster and learn faster and why that's so important. I mean, if you want to read all these books, the average CEO reads a book a week, about 50 books a year, right? So, I mean, seems to me like if you want to have a high income and do some of the things that these CEOs are doing, why not follow what they're doing? Read a book a week. Well, if you read slow, this is a book for you to learn how to read faster. The 5 love languages. I mean, look, we're going to talk about this in future episodes, but everybody's looking for love. And sometimes you got to learn how to love. You got to learn how other people's love language, what other people's love language is, so that you can speak their language, right? Also, Atomic Habits by James Clear, really, really powerful book. because habits are everything. We're driven by habits. Another great book, The Jewish Phenomenon by Stephen Sibilger, right? Hope I said his name right. But man, it's amazing if you really take a step back and look at how there are a lot of Jewish people. And by the way, I'm not going to really go into a whole lot of detail there, but I learned some powerful things about that. That's just a whole nother subject that we'll talk about one day when it comes to the Jews, or what I would call the real Jews, right? But anyway, I digress. But the Jewish phenomenon, it's interesting how there's a community of people who hold a high percentage of the wealth in this country. Wouldn't you want to learn from what they're doing, right? And so, also, The Seasons of Life by Jim Rohn. The Seasons of Life by Jim Rohn. And this is a big one for me because I remember being in such a down point in my life and in my business, and this book helped pick me up out of my stuff. And it just showed me how to navigate through the seasons, because the seasons are going to come regardless, right? But knowing how to navigate through those seasons is so powerful. Also, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. Listen, if we're going to influence anybody in business and entrepreneurship, and even just as you move through life, you want to understand some of the laws and understand how people operate. And this is a perfect book for that. And then, last but not least, Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. Really, really powerful book, teaching you how to make those adjustments and how to uh, learn when to spot opportunities and when to move, and when to, not to stay comfortable, but to always be looking for the next move, because guess what? The cheese is always going to move. It continues to, and you could either be left behind or you could be ahead of the curve. So listen, those are like 20 of some of my favorite books, and I got a whole lot more, but those are just some that I just kind of thought to mind that I thought I would bring to you. And so listen, check this out. I'm going to do something special for you. If you join our special Facebook group, then I will actually list these out for you. So I will actually spell all of them out, so that way you can go back and get them. So just go to thewaytofreedom.info, thewaytofreedom.info. Join our Facebook group community, and I'll have them all spelled out. These books that I just went over. So I hope you guys got some value from it. Read those books. I can't wait to hear what you're learning from these books. And I just love learning. I love getting better because, again, as I've noticed as I've gotten better, that things have gotten better for me, right? But I had to fix my mind. I had to fix my relationships, fix my finances, fix my business. All those things I've learned from these different culminations of books that I've read, and then so many more. If you could see my library, and to be honest with you, I am proud of my library. I love my library, and I continue to seek to get more books, because to me, I'll just end with this. I think it was Jim Rohn that said this. He said, if you go across America, those who earn over $250,000 a year or more, I think that's how he said it. Um, they will all Every one of those homes, you will always see a avid library, right? Um, he said it's just fact, and I just thought that was so powerful. So that encouraged me to want to have a library, right? Like some people want to have the dream home with the theater, and yes, I want that too. However, I also want to make sure I want to have a gym in the dream home, but I also want to make sure that I have a sweet library, right? A library that I can look and say, this is why I'm blessed to live this way, is because I read and applied these books. Speaking of last week's episode, knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, right? You don't just want to learn this stuff, but you want to apply it. So anyway, I appreciate you guys once again for tuning in. Hope you had got some value from episode 90, and I can't wait to see you at episode 91. God bless and take care. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys for listening. Definitely feel free to take a screenshot of this episode, tag me in it on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you find me on social media, I would love to give you a shout out. Hey, you might even get a prize. Who knows? But excited that you had a chance to take a listen. I hope you got a lot of value, and definitely feel free to give us 5 stars as well as a review. Show us some love, and we appreciate you. God bless you all, and see you all over the top. I get a lot of people asking me how we were blessed to walk away from corporate America in our early 30s. Well, listen, I don't want to keep that a secret. I want to share it with the world. And so maybe you're listening to this podcast and you're trying to figure out, how do I even get started on my journey of entrepreneurship and getting to a level of freedom? Well, text the word freedom to 737-777-9909. Enter your information in, and we look forward to sharing some information with you. A proven system with small overhead, right? That you can do part-time, spare time, right from the comfort of your home, and have amazing mentors, coaches, and a community of entrepreneurs who are willing to support you and help you on your journey to freedom.